And we are live. How's everybody doing? Wednesday night fish talk. Who we have tonight already in here? PB Aquatics, the first one. How's it going, brother? Paul McCarthy. Thank you. Jen C, how you doing? And everybody that's gonna be watching the replay, thank you for joining and watching. For Wednesday night fish talk tonight, we got in the house Ben Ochart. How you doing tonight, brother?
I'm doing great, Carlos. How are you?
Not bad, not bad. Another day.
Glad to be here.
Oh yeah, man. I'm glad you joining me and everything. I know we've been talking a little bit, through email and then backstage and everything, but you got a nice channel and I love the things you do with cichlids and everything. And you just did some big changes actually moving. The people that don't know Ben, he actually moved from LA to Tennessee, so now he's in Tennessee. How are you enjoying life in Nashville?
I'm loving it. It's a different pace.
Mm-hmm.
It was I went from maybe 5G to 2G. I'm liking it. The people are very friendly. The air is very clean. Cost of living is about 30% less. I mean, what's not to like, right? I'm closer to my oldest daughter and her husband, and hoping I'll be a grandfather at some point. And I've got 4 other kids. Two on the West Coast. Another one's going to come out here. My other daughter's going to move out here too, so that'll work out. But so anyway, I'm loving it. I like it a lot. I got seasons. I've got snow. I've got rain. LA, you pretty much have. It's hot. It's cold. Little rain here and there.
Not that much snow, but yeah, you guys do get some snow in Nashville.
Yeah, we get some dusting.
Now, have you gotten to run around Nashville and check out some of the local fish stores yet?
The only one I've been to several times is the Aquatic Critter, which I love. Mm-hmm. And I did a video on it. I was really impressed with just how clean it was and how healthy the fish were, how friendly the staff was. They have a great selection of just about everything: salt, fresh, plants. But I know there's some more stores around. I've just got to go out there and just do a little more research. But I've really been impressed with Critters. I've gone back there about 4 times.
Oh, okay. Now, yeah, there's some more stores in your area. There's a lot more stores in your area. Now another question. Lately, I've been seeing you have taken a change. You was big African Cichlid. You're known African Cichlid. But me as a viewer, I've been seeing a change in you that you're getting into the South American thing with the South American New World cichlids. What's kind of bringing you into those?
Well, I've always thought they were beautiful, and but I was committed. The tanks I had a working system going, and I was pretty much set in with the space I had and the tanks I had. I was pretty much locked into cichlids. So when I left LA, I sold everything. I sold all the fish, all the tanks, everything. I didn't bring anything with me. And I said, okay, now what interests me? What do I want to get into? I still love African cichlids, but I had seen in other people's channels, other tanks, fish that just sort of blew me away. I love the Geophagus. I love the Viejas. I love and I'm discovering new fish all the time. So I thought it was just time to shake things up. I still have 8 African cichlids. I'm still going to be part of what I do. Mm-hmm. But this tank here will be the jump-off tank for the South Americans. And then I'm having bigger tanks. I'm having one tank made locally, and then I'm going to have some other tanks brought in that the fish will graduate into. So I'll have two groups. I'll have the South American New World, and I'll have the African cichlids. And who knows? I might get into some planted tanks. I might get into some community. I just thought it was time to start expanding a little bit.
Get you some live bears too?
Possibly. I'm liking what I'm seeing these days with some of the swordtails I've seen recently, some of the platies and mollies. You're getting these different varieties. They're just really, really pretty. They were not available years ago. And
Swordtails, I love swordtails. That's our second biggest favorite fish. I got them in like 5 different types. And
yeah, I mean, I'm seeing some with almost like a neon or fluorescent sword, and I mean, you're seeing crazy stuff. It's crazy stuff.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, that's always been my thing: live bears and angelfish. Now that you've been getting into South American, will we see some angels with you?
I think that the angels are compatible with what I'm doing, in particular with the Geos.
Yes.
And I've kind of fallen in love with the koi angels, and so I see some of those in my future. I've always liked the look of a lace angel, but but the kois to me are just like they just really pop. You know, that tricolor they have going on to me is just really, really kind of special. Again, I grew up with silver angels, black angels. You know, I grew up with some real basic stuff. Now you go to the fish store and it's a candy store.
Oh yeah, I mean they come in blue. They come now almost red. They call them red dragon. The dark red kois and everything. So yeah, I love seeing some angels. Now Geos, that's a big thing because I've been seeing a trend now with Geos. A lot of people are now starting to get into Geos. What type of Geos are you keeping right now?
Well, right now I have what you'd call a threadfin and a red striped earth eater. It's one of them is AC Hecli. It's a it might even be classified outside of the Geo category, technically speaking. But the other one, the red stripe earth eater, is the kind that will sift constantly, and the sand falls out of its gills.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm going to be adding what are called redhead tapajos.
Yep.
And so these are, and I just love their shape. I love the way they sift, and their colors are, you know, they have that South American, like someone flips a switch and you get all the little dots of color, like you'll see with the Jack Dempsey sometimes. They have that going on, that luminescence to their body, which I love. You can see them. I don't know if you can see them at all back here. There's one right here.
Mm-hmm.
There's 3 more running around. There's also a red spot Severum and a electric Jack Dempsey in there.
Oh yeah, that electric Jack Dempsey you got is pretty. That's a very nice fish. I like the way they look. Yeah, that's a real pretty fish. And
yes,
that Severum.
I have a red shoulder Severum coming. This
Yes.
one is a yellow. It's a red spotted yellow Severum, and you know they'll do the thing that cichlids do. I mean they'll be a little territorial, but they don't get into that real violent murder that murder level antagonism that some of the cichlids get into, that some of the African cichlids get into.
Oh yeah, the Africans can get nasty.
Oh yeah. And I've had over the years, I've probably had to rehome a dozen fish or more that I just couldn't keep. They were just they were just homicidal maniacs. I mean, it's one thing to chase a fish; it's another thing to like have this obsession with totally destroying another fish. That's the difference,
Oh yeah. And
sometimes you'll get one fish and he's fine. You get the same species, another fish, and he's crazy. So I'm finding out that's the case with the South Americans. People are telling me you can get a mellow Jack Dempsey, you can end up with a crazy Jack Dempsey. I mean, it's
Jack Dempsey's, Jules, Jaguars, because it was funny. I had my first Jaguar I ever had. I didn't even know what I had, and we got them small, and we had them in a community tank with swordtails and platies, and it got huge, and it never killed a swordtail or a platy.
That's amazing.
But we didn't know what we had until we went to the store to sell it, and we find out I had a Jaguar cichlid. And I'm like, I had a cichlid in there with swordtails and mollies and platies. And it was just a big community and never did anything. Never killed a fish in there. but the Grammies.
But he grew up.
You know.
He grew up with them.
Yeah, he grew up with them.
Yeah. Sometimes I think it just becomes sort of like it just becomes their tribe, you know.
Oh yeah, I had a big old boat, looked like like an old pirate ship in there, wrecked pirate ship, and that was his territory. And everybody left him alone, and he liked to hide in there. He comes out to get his food, went right back in his ship, and lived happily in there with Swordtails and just a big pretty tank.
I had some clown loaches with cichlids back in California, and they were in with those cichlids for almost 5 years, maybe more. And I'm telling you, they thought they were cichlids.
I bet.
Cichlids. They would eat off the top. They would battle for food at the top, and I think they thought they were cichlids. They never had any problem. And they had those barbs, right, that come out. Nobody would mess with them. So the cichlids stayed. Even the much bigger cichlids would stay away from them.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Yeah, weird things happen sometime in our tanks. Things that don't happen normal in nature, but hey, sometimes it just works for us.
Someone told me tonight that a clown loach can live 45 years.
I never known how long a clown loach could live. I never had a clown loach.
That's amazing. They get big. They get
I know they take forever to grow. That's why they're so pricey. For them to just get them to a sellable size, I mean, it's a hard fish to breed, first of all, and then to get them to a sellable size.
Yeah.
Now, are you gonna get into doing some breeding with these South Americans?
Possibly. In the beginning, it's going to be just trying to set up some communities that work.
Mm-hmm.
And you get into breeding, especially with that kind of fish, you pretty much have to have them separated out because they turn on a whole different level of aggression. So I'd have to have some tanks that are dedicated to that. Right now, I have 5 tanks in this room, 2 of them set up, 3 of them waiting to do something with them. And so this is really early. I'm really kind of early in the journey. I'm kind of finding out about these fish.
Mm-hmm.
And so but breeding, it's a possibility. I heard convicts, you put 3 convicts together and you'll have 35 convicts in 2 weeks.
Oh, yeah.
Rabbit fish, right?
I got a good convict story, but we got some questions real quick. PB asks, what was your worst fish you ever kept?
I had a very bad Venusis one time
Mm-hmm.
that I had to get rid of. Was just a destroyer. Probably the fish that I brought home and I didn't quarantine correctly, and I ended up with Colomaris, and I lost 50% of my fish. That was a bad fish.
Oh yeah, very bad fish there.
And I had a red top Lawanda that was absolutely insane. I mean, like really insane. I mean, he was just crazy. He would just keep all the fish corralled in the corner, and just one day, one day like a switch flipped, and he was fine, and then one morning he just went. I don't know what happened, so I had to get rid of him. He was kind of crazy, but those would be the worst. Otherwise, it's been pretty good.
Aquafunk asks, Ben, what fish you love but would never want to keep for yourself?
Well, I love salt.
Mm-hmm.
And you look at fish like monarchs and cowfish and seahorses, and I go nuts on that kind of stuff. Like it's hard to get me. It's hard to get me out of the aquarium, the city aquarium, like Long Beach Aquarium or someplace like that. It's hard to get me out of there. My wife is like, "Okay, we're just gonna go eat. You just stay here," because I love octopus, right? And so saltwater. Yeah. Right now, it's saltwater, and maybe something like. I've actually over time I've sort of warmed up to flower horns. Only because of the spectacular colors on them. but I don't really think I'd keep one.
You wouldn't keep one?
No, it just doesn't fit what I'm doing right now. And I know they really have to be alone. And but probably flower horns, and I also love betta. You know, some bettas are spectacular.
But you wouldn't keep a betta?
But not right now. Not in the scheme and direction I'm going in.
You can keep a small tank somewhere.
Yeah, I might end up with some smaller tanks. You know, once I get things rolled out the way I want. I mean, there's some. You see these betta sororities that was kind of catching on for a while.
Oh yeah, the sorority, but I like the males. I got several males. I mean, I have some females. You know, we got to breed, but my thing on the males. I got some pretty males.
The ones you see on Instagram drive you crazy. They're like unbelievable.
Yeah, but I'm more into the placots. I'm more into the bigger body type. The fins are not as super big. You know, I like the half moon placots and everything, but they are nice. To me, they're nice. You know, I enjoy those type of placots. I just like the thicker body in them compared to the other one. They have such a thinner body. They got the big old tails and everything, but their body's a lot smaller.
Do you breed them?
Yeah, I have done placots. I have done crown tails before, and I have done regular veils.
Yeah, they're beautiful, beautiful fish.
Oh yeah, they are. It's funny you were saying flower horn, and right before that we did the 2 questions, you was talking about convicts, because I was keeping flower horns at one time, and I had convicts, and I only used the convicts was to feed the flower horns, to give my flower horns live food.
Yeah,
because they produce, you know, so much.
That's right, and that's probably the only way you should do that, because you're controlling that fish. You're not picking something up at a store that's full of parasites.
It's exactly. I like to control my live food if I ever do live food. I was doing vinegar eels for a little bit, you know, my brine shrimp, but you know, whenever you do those bigger cichlids that like to have live food, it's best to, you know, breed your own goldfish or your own guppies to feed them, and they do just fine. They do, you know, you will have a lot of parasites in your fish room. Yeah,
that's two of the biggest fears I would run into with people that I would speak with, both at my Facebook page and also, you know, through YouTube questions, would be, you know, sunken belly, right? A lot of sunken belly and a lot of bloat seem to be the 2 areas that apart from aggression, the areas that would come up, questions would come up very frequently. And of course, those parasites, you're rolling the dice when you bring in some feeder fish.
Oh, yes. Definitely. We got another question. They want to know, what's your favorite hybrid fish?
Well, yeah, people know. I love OBs. You know, I love the OBs. And you're seeing some OBs now with a lot of yellow, blue, and red, which to me is just like, it's stunning. I don't like the OBs. I don't like the OBs necessarily, even though they're beautiful, but not in types of fish that are already very, very aggressive. Like an OB eye biter would be like, to me, that's just like you're asking for trouble.
Oh yeah,
very pretty, you know, but just your regular old, you know, your regular old peacock, you know, Mabuna mix OB that, and some folks are doing some crazy stuff. I've ordered up an OB from the Cichlid Shack. He calls them Skittles, and he has a certain color combination. Very, very pretty. So I'm going to be adding one of those to this tank here, and hopefully he'll be mellow. You know, you roll the dice with OBs. Sometimes they can be really crazy. But that's probably my favorite. My favorite hybrid is an OB.
We got a question from Vinny. What do you think of puffers?
You know, it's funny because that's probably the fish that I should have included in that category that I really like but wouldn't own, and I might own at some point. because I just love when I go to the fish stores, I love the way they interact. I like that sort of puppy dog face that they have,
Yeah.
you know. They come up and look at you and they check you out and they got those big eyes. You know, so yeah, I really like puffers. And the pea puffers, the figure eights. Murphy, you know, if you ever watch the aquarium co-op, you know, he's got that big old puffer. I think his name is Murph.
Murph.
And, it's on his logo, I think. But he's like the mascot of the store. He's like this big. And I know they're a mess, though. You got to feed them clams and crabs.
Oh yeah, the small ones you just feed them the little, you know, the small snails, ram snails. They breed like crazy. The second you get those in your tank, they go like crazy.
So
now,
you're sort of
making
your own food.
If you're looking at Amazon type of fish, what have you thought of autumn angels and discus?
Well, angels, like I talked about, the kois only at this point are on the list as something possible. Discus are definitely on the list. I have a line in on some discus, and I would say this year, knock on wood, I'll have a discus tank running.
Okay, what type of discus you kind of looking at?
Well, you know, I love anything red, like a snakeskin. You know, those types of discus. I love the blue diamonds, the melons. I mean, there's pigeon blood. Pigeon blood drives me crazy when I see a fully grown pigeon blood. I just go nuts. I just love that fish. The color combinations are just really, really pretty. But I need something tall and wide that can really showcase them. And that's a fish that I could probably take into the house because my wife loves them too. So she would probably sign off on a discus tank inside the house.
The discus, yeah, those are pretty. I mean, I'm into the discus too. I wish I could have some discus right now, but I don't. But I'm more into the I like the wild type discus.
Yeah, but I've heard that those can be more sensitive. I mean, you've got to really have you're looking at RO water and remineralized RO water or and you know, you got to keep that temperature on the high side. I mean, it's a really kind of a delicate balance. But if you can pick some up that, you know, started from good stock and but you're a lot of generations in locally, they'll be a bit more rugged, a bit more robust. They're not going to die out. I mean, you probably know this already. And but yeah, the wild caught ones, crazy looking. Crazy.
Oh yeah. Now, dwarf cichlids. You got any good dwarf cichlids you might get into?
No, I haven't had any experience or ideas about those at all, really.
None rams or pictos.
I love the blue rams, and I love your regular German rams. I used to keep those years ago. I used to keep discus before I got into African cichlids, and the tank mates were usually rams. Lifespan didn't seem that long on the rams. I don't know why. It might have been just what I was doing with them back then. And but I love the way the rams move, and their colors. I mean, they're small. You got to look close sometimes, but their colors are spectacular.
Oh yeah, to me, them and the pistols, they're like the guppies of cichlids. They're small, but a lot of color and a lot of you really got to watch them. They're pretty cool, fish to have. Now we got another question by Elijah Davis. What can you put with Tropheus cichlids?
Tropheus is not a line I've really gotten into. I'd be, I would say other Tropheus. It's a safe answer. A Synodonis and a Pleco.
Always a Pleco.
Always a Pleco. Pleco's good.
You see, I'm starting to get more into the cichlids, other than, I've always done angels, but people don't consider that a cichlid sometimes. And, convicts, that breeds by itself, But yeah, like right now, with the Jaguars and everything, I've been trying to get more into the cichlids, but I want to get more dwarf cichlids. rams and a pistols and those type of variations.
Maybe some
So that's
Shelleys.
yeah. But I never done no Africans other than a buddy of mine was doing Bashardis, and he was showing me how to breed Bashardis.
Wow. Yeah, rams are beautiful. They have certain, I think, water requirements that are strict, and I don't know what their lifespan is, because it's not common for me to get comments from people about how their rams die off fairly quickly compared to other fish you'll have for years and years. The rams don't seem to run that way.
They usually die off because they're so sensitive.
Yeah. If a water change jolts the pH, they're gone.
Yeah. They could go on you real quick. It's a tougher fish to keep, but they're pretty cool to have. Now right now in your new fish room here, how many tanks you have up and running?
I have 2 running right now, 3 in a stack to my right, 1 that's on order, and a line in on some 200 plus tanks, 200 gallon plus tanks that I'm in the middle of discussions. So I'm going to have an area here that surrounds me with tanks, and then the bigger, longer tanks will be on this side of me, this side and this side, and maybe 6-7 feet of tank. And then there's probably going to be a rack too that has like maybe 3 or 4 29-gallon. Because I'm going to need a hospital tank. I'm going to need a quarantine tank, things like that. And you always have to have a tank you can put a fish in that's not behaving when you have these kind of fish. So a place to put him while he chills out or recovers from the beating he took.
Fishy Biz got a question because he went to go get Calvis and ended up getting compressor sets. What you think, Calvis or compressor sets?
I like them both. They're both very weird looking, but in a good way.
Yes.
And I think I mean, you want to get what you went out to buy, but sometimes they make a mistake. I ordered a fish one time, and they sent me a Taiwan reef that's on the logo of my channel. This Taiwan reef was sent to me by mistake. They got the fish wrong. He was so spectacular, I kept him. He ended up being the logo of my channel.
What were you
sometimes
trying to
these
get?
mistakes work out.
What were you trying to get?
I was trying to get a different Protomelis and the same family of fish, but it's a type of like a tangerine tiger and similar to a tangerine tiger. And I ended up with this guy, and I guess they had him in the same tank or something, and I ended up with this guy. But it was okay. I felt good.
Yeah, you still got you a nice fish, right? Hey, that's all that matters.
Yeah,
at least
that's
you
right.
got you a nice fish.
Yeah, I contacted the seller. I said, "Hey, you got the fish wrong, but I'm going to keep them."
Now, what Africans you going to bring into your fish room over here?
Which Africans?
Yeah, which ones are you going to end up having?
In this tank here, you're going to be seeing a yellow sunshine benga, a flavescent, a blue neon, possibly a bicolor 500, a Z-Rock, and a ruby red or a German red. And those are the initial ones. And I think that's going to give me a nice color combination. Maybe a turquoise cap. And I don't want to get haps that get too big. Now, when I get the bigger tank, I want to get back into, because I love the Buccochromis nototaneus. I love the sand divers, right? The Phosphorochromis rostratus. So there's the Malawi hawk. These are beautiful fish. Venusis, stony, living stony eye. These are fish that I want to have as part of the collection.
Mm-hmm.
But I need more space. I'm gonna need a bigger tank. They need 6 feet minimum.
Mm-hmm.
So that'd be okay here to grow them out. But the fish I'm gonna put in here initially will probably stay there for a year or two, maybe longer. If I keep it to the smaller peacocks.
Yeah. Now you're doing your fish room. You're doing your fish room in a garage, right? Is that correct?
Yes, I have it's sort of the way it ended out. We wanted to get a house with a finished basement or a room that I could have as a fish room.
Mm-hmm.
We found a house that was perfect in a lot of different ways. So I sort of compromised, but the garage is a big garage. It's huge. And so it's going to be fine. And it's we still have some household storage in it, which you just have to have in a garage. And but I think it's going to be fine. I insulated the door, so the temperature is controlled. I have a good heater, so it's I'm liking it.
Now we got another question. If you could get your own fish from the wild, what would you get?
From the wild?
Yeah, if you was able to go collect them, what fish would you collect?
Well, I bet you some geophagus collected in the wild would be crazy. Discus, like you were talking about, some wild caught discus. Maybe some exotic plecos. Some of your zebra stripe plecos. I mean, I can imagine gathering up some of those. And I mean, being able to maybe dive in Lake Malawi and gather up a few fish. Boy, that'd be the adventure, huh?
That would be an adventure. Go dive in and capture some fish from Lake Malawi. We need to set up. If you ever go, let me know.
It'd be a bucket list item.
Oh yeah, we added something.
Just getting to Africa would be an adventure.
Oh yeah, and making it out alive. Hippos kill everybody. You gotta watch out.
Make sure you have a good guide. Yeah.
Yeah. Now we got another question. If there are any African cichlids that I should avoid getting for a community African cichlid tank.
From Elijah Davis. Hi, Elijah. Well, certainly anything that is in the family of the Venusus, the Nimbochromis family. Any of those can be very, 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 very hard on other fish. So it's funny because they offer at most of these big box stores and places, very often the fish they feature like Venusus. And Venusus can grow very, very fast and become a real big bully. So if you really want fish from the Nimbochromis family, Venusus, the Linny, fish like that, the polystigma, these are beautiful fish. But let your other fish put on size and get established, and then add a smaller Nimbochromis. And that way you'll kind of stay kind of low on the pecking order for a while. But watch out for Nimbochromis. And sometimes I hear stories about your dragon bloods and your hybrids that ended up with the OB, what they call orange blotch. The OBs, like your OB eye biters. Those can be very tough. Eye biters in general can be very aggressive, depending on the type, on the personality of that particular one.
Just with the name alone, it scares you. Yeah. Eye biter.
I had a very big one, never bit an eye, and he was beautiful. And but he was tough. He was the only one that gave my Venusus a real challenge. And then he backed off after about a day or two of being in charge. The Venusus caught his breath and became a good beating. And so everything went back to normal again. If the eye biter had been the tank boss, it would have been terrible. He would have harassed everybody and kept everybody in the corner.
And everybody would have had one eye in that tank.
Yeah. a bunch of pirates.
Oh yeah. Now we got another question. If you was in an episode of Tank, what dream tank would you build in stock?
Ooh, baby. I'd probably take the wall behind me. This entire staircase. This is a staircase that goes up to the house. I'd probably turn the whole side of that staircase into a discus tank or a saltwater tank. And maybe something like that. Or maybe make the whole garage a tank and that I could actually dive into.
What will you have in it then? What do you want to swim in your garage tank with?
Oh, jeez. You know,
Would you have
it'd be a blast.
Would you have a red tail there?
I'm sorry?
Would you have monster fish like red tails, or would you have some?
I think that'd be amazing. But you know, not anything that can get my arm into its mouth. But you know what? Hey, imagine. I mean, I don't want to swim with Dovi. Lose a finger. But imagine if you're in a tank with 10-inch Bucochromos norteñas, some Venuses, some 8 or 9-inch, 10-inch Venuses. I mean, that'd be kind of fun. Fun. But saltwater, you know, if they could build me a saltwater tank with a lot of coral and a system that was easy to understand that I could get my wits around. I used to watch that show. I went by the warehouse in Vegas when it was closed.
Well, we got some new people coming in. Chevy Fish, how are you doing? Thank you for joining us.
Hey, Chevy.
Well, everybody, what we're doing, we just keep asking him questions. If you guys got any questions. Oh, somebody got another question. They want to know, can you put clown loaches with African cichlids?
Yeah, they tuned in a little late. Elijah, I used to have. If you go into my old videos, you'll see clown loaches. 3 of them. They were called Los Tres Amigos, and they grew up with cichlids. And I really believe they thought they were cichlids. They would eat from the top. They would chase cichlids around. They were hilarious, and they would stack on top of each other. Sometimes they would lay on their sides, and you'd think they were dead. They would sleep on their sides. So the answer is now, if you do it, and a cichlid purist comes around, they're going to rag you. They're going to rag on you. They're going to say, "Oh, look, those are different. The clowns need soft water. They're going to jump all over you." And I went through some of that in the beginning. But as the years rolled on, like around year 4 and 5, and these 3 clowns just kept getting prettier and bigger and nicer, and people just shut up. They just said, "Well, I don't know. They look like they're thriving." They would just eat cichlid food, and would get plenty of protein. And I'd put occasionally some spirulina, some veggies in there. But they're high protein. They like protein. If a fish ever died, like let's say I have a fish that would die of old age or something, and boy oh boy, the clowns and the Pleco, I had bushy nose Plecos in there. Man, they'd be all over that fish.
Oh yeah,
so they're definitely meat eaters. But they've got those barbs. They've got barbs on the side. So when you net them, you got to be really careful, because if that barb gets caught in the net, you pull them out. It could rip out, and it'll be a serious injury. But when they would put those barbs out, the cichlids would head for the hills. Well, nothing to do with it. They're like really sharp, and so they kept their distance. I don't know. Do all the loaches have those? I don't know. Do yo-yo loaches have barbs?
You actually got a question about? Yes, I think they do.
Yeah.
Yo-yo and dojos have the little barbs down there.
Yeah, I love the clowns. I see the question from Fishy Biz. Hey, Fishy Biz. I love the yo-yos. I love but the clowns to me are because the way they sleep on their side and the way they stack on top of each other, I think they're just hilarious. So I think when I get into maybe a community, or maybe even with the Discus, we'll see, whatever's compatible, I'll probably end up getting some more clowns because I like them a lot. Yo-yos are beautiful, and there's other kinds of loaches out there that are just gorgeous.
Yeah, Biz got the gold dojo loaches. If you look at his video recently, he has one that's like deformed. They bred in his tank, but one of the babies was just fine, and all of a sudden got deformed. I mean, it's poor fish. You should check it out.
Like tuberculosis, or they can do that where the spine actually bends.
Now, somebody asked, if there are fish in the hobby career, they have the most personality that sticks out in your memory.
Well, PB Aquatics, I think we're back to probably clown loaches. I mean, I love that. I also had I think that Vinny, my Venusus that I sold, because he went from a 1/2-inch little fry to this big 10-inch beast, and he got through a bout of colomaris where he lost half of his face and it was down almost to the bone in just the infection, and he lost a lot of his tail, and then he recovered. He bounced back and just became a beautiful fish again. And when you go through something like that with a fish, you get this sort of bond. And we had this sort of bond going on, and he would always come check out the side of the tank, like wherever I was. He'd always come there like a puppy dog, and he kept peace. He kept peace in my big cichlid tank, and he was like a benevolent dictator. So he was probably my favorite fish. So this is why when I tell people, look, watch out with Venusus, at the same time, there's a part of me that says, you can end up with a big puppy dog that you might fall apart. So, yeah, they're beautiful fish.
Now, what type of plecos have you kept? Early, you mentioned bushy nose.
I've kept your standard, your gold plecos, and nothing extremely expensive or fancy. I've kept gold nuggets, spotted type plecos. The bushy noses have been the bristle nose or bushy nose have been my favorites. They don't become monsters. I mean, I've had to give away several of the green plecos. They just got enormous. When they get to that size, they can latch onto the side of one of your fish and hang on and basically run the fish down. Yeah. So I had to get rid of some green plecos. I like the bushy because they get to 5 inches maybe, and they do a good job. They're always working. They're always going after algae. So they're good, hardworking plecos. They're not lazy.
They're active too. That's the thing I like. You see them around your tank moving around. Some plecos hide. I have a clown pleco, and my wife's 55, and it's like I only see him once a month. Other than that, never see this fish. So it's like
they only come out at night.
I go in there and mess around, I don't know if he's alive or not.
Yeah, they hide and they feed at night sometimes. And you don't know, is he alive or dead? Who knows? If you have an ammonia spike, I guess the pleco died.
Oh, what's the longest fish you ever kept from fry to grown? The longest amount of years?
Well, I'd say probably. I had an old Z-Rock that I ended up giving away, and I had him for about 7 years. And by the time I gave him away, he was an old man. He was all bent over, swimming kind of slow. You could tell he was kind of getting up there. About 7 years. And some of those other fish I mentioned that I grew out, I had them for about 4 or 5 years. I'd have to go back and look at my YouTube channel. This is why I tell people to start a YouTube channel, even if they don't share it, because you can store videos of your fish and go back and see what you had, and YouTube will handle the storage for you.
Oh yeah. One thing I always said in my channel, to me, YouTube is amazing what it's done to the hobby. It actually has helped the hobby. People more learn. People are not hiding secrets or not able to access the source of certain species they want to breed. Now with YouTube, you just search it, you can find it. It's just a giant library of so many things, and it has helped our hobby a lot.
Exactly. Someone mentioned to me a parrotfish, but the real, not the hybrid parrot, but the original parrot has a certain name to it. And there's also a fish called a T-bar cichlid.
Mm-hmm.
So they just send me the name. I do a quick search on YouTube. I've got 10 videos of each one. And gorgeous fish that 15 years ago I would have never found out about unless I happened to walk into the store or buy a book.
Talking about hybrids and new stuff. Have you seen the polar blue cichlids yet?
Polar blue, no.
It's a parrot and a convict mixed together.
Wow. I saw a platinum or a pearl convict the other day.
Yeah.
Crazy looking.
They're starting to do different color combinations with the convicts. But yeah, the polar blue, they're actually there's a parrot with a convict. They got nice blue, but now they're coming in marble and they're coming in platinum too.
I wonder how the attitude is.
Like a convict.
Yeah.
Very much like a convict.
Hey, Fishy
when
Biz.
When are you bringing coffee and cichlid back?
Fishy Biz, I've already done 3 episodes. Where have you been? But you know what happens is because I'm in the central time zone now, it's happening at 8 a.m. California time. But if you go onto my channel, you'll see I've done about 3 episodes, and I did a live stream tonight. So Saturday, 10 a.m. 10 a.m. Central Time.
Oh, yeah.
I'll do one this weekend.
That's every Saturdays.
Yeah. God willing,
yes, guys,
sunrise, right?
If you haven't subscribed to his channel, definitely check it out. He has a lot of knowledge on especially African cichlids. And now this journey that you're going to take, you know, going into Central South American and exploring these new stuff that you haven't kept is going to be an amazing thing, you know, for us to see you document all this for us and see you starting off with that. Somebody you're very experienced with Africans. So I don't think you're going to have a tough time actually jumping into New World cichlids.
Yeah, it's an adventure. And I'm making probably some of the common mistakes that people make in the beginning. Like some of the mistakes I made in the beginning with the Africans. But I have this great community that I interact with, and I've told them, I said, look, go ahead and call me out. I mean, if you see that I'm doing something that isn't right, tell me right away. You know, you get kind of thick skin after you've been out there for a while. And so, you know, I'm learning, and it's going to be a lot of fun. Also, the channel also has a lot of information on things that are not species specific, like filtration, substrate, arrowheads, things of that nature. You know, there's a lot of other material that is not just about cichlids in general, like the Facebook page, the apostrophe cichlid. It's about everything. It's about all types of fish, all questions related to fish keeping. Whether it's, hey, look, my fish are doing this. What do you think is going on? You know, doesn't matter if it's platies, swordtails, or African cichlids. Doesn't matter. So there's a lot of diversity there that I think you'll find if you come by.
Now that you're building a big fish room, and it's funny you mentioned filtration. Are you gonna do central filtration and do all sponge filters, or are you still gonna do, you know, different types of filtration?
I'm going to try and dial the filtration into the needs of like, for example, you know, if you have discus, your parameters have to be beyond pristine.
Mm-hmm.
So that tank is going to be what somebody would normally call over-filtered in water turnover and filtration. I may have a sump together with a canister, maybe even a hang-on back. So there'll be a lot going on there. So each tank's going to have its own sort of unique situation. And also, if you've been following, you know that I've kind of had a change in philosophy, and I'm using my substrate, as a home for beneficial bacteria.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm borrowing some sort of old school wisdom, where these guys and gals would put 3 inches of substrate, and they would only very lightly vacuum the surface, never really touch the sand, just let it develop an aerobic bacteria in a low oxygen area, and see if that can turn over some nitrates. So my filters are primarily for water polishing, as opposed to counting on them for the homing the beneficial bacteria. We've always had beneficial bacteria everywhere. But, I'm just sort of moving in the direction of having it in the substrate.
So you're gonna go to the old method. I know Father Fish does a lot of the old methods like that with the thick filtration, and he uses that a lot to grow plants. He even got tanks with no filtration. It's just substrate and plants, and it just works, you know.
Yeah, and you hear about these tanks where the only water change they ever do is they replace evaporation.
Yep.
And they can have a slow drip, and they never touch the tank. And then you have a cleanup crew. You have it full of plants, snails, shrimp. Never have to touch it. But we'll see. We'll see how this experiment behind me goes. Both of these have 3 inches of substrate.
Yeah, I told them. Did you ever see the ones I have? The fish I'm working on?
No, the Jack hybrid.
Yeah, I actually did a video on them. You should check it out. The way they're coming out, they're pretty nice.
Yeah,
and PB's asking, how do you feel about under gravel filters?
Well, they seem to be making a comeback. I mean, I had them when I was about, 6, 7 years old.
Now, how long have you been in the hobby?
Well, there were some breaks because I had some jobs where I had to travel.
Mm-hmm.
But my first tank, I was about 5 or 6. So that puts me at, 60 years.
What was your first fish?
Gaps in there. I remember my first fish. It was a rasbora and a neon. And I think there was a zebra in there. It was a little tank that my parents brought home. And it had about an inch or 2 of water in it. And the fish were in it. They bought it from like a neighbor or something, a store, I forget where. And I immediately just fell in love with this little world. And I think I probably promptly went and just cleaned the heck out of everything and just killed off all of it. But I never lost my love for it.
That's good. I mean, that's how we're gonna get the next generation is showing them how to have fish so young. Hopefully they don't lose it, and when they get our age, they get into a hobby the way we are.
Yeah.
Now somebody's asking, what's the best way of dealing with aggression in an African cichlid tank?
Well, that's a multifaceted question. I mean, first you have to make sure you don't put the wrong fish together to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
Next, make sure that you have what that fish needs. Like if you have Mabuna, be sure you have a lot of caves. And if you don't have a very wide tank, build some caves upward. I mean, they'll claim territory like a condominium. They'll take their territory up high if they have to. You understand the needs of that fish. If it's an open water fish, provide a lot of open water. I used to provide breaks in what's called line of sight. So I'd have either tall rocks or plants, like these tall plants you see here in this tank behind me.
Mm-hmm.
That provides a break in the line of sight so a fish can take a break. But you have to also be very observant. If you notice that a fish is just generally going after everybody, that's one thing. It's another thing when they picked out one fish and have marked that fish for death. then you have to either remove the target fish or remove the aggressor and be very, very fast about it. People they wait, they don't move fast enough, and they think that the fish are asleep at night. Some of the biggest battles occur when the tank is dark. You wake up the next morning, the fish is dead. A lot of folks yep. And you have, white collar, blue collar fish keepers, right? They go off, they work, they come back at night. They haven't looked at the tank for 12 hours. And, it's been a battle royale for 5 hours. So, but taking fast action, don't put the wrong fish together. Move quickly if you notice something. Have a setup tank that you can move either a beat up fish or an aggressor into right away, and be willing to rehome a fish. Take them back to the store, put them on Craigslist, get rid of them. You have to sometimes. And also realize that you're going to have fish that are going to get killed and there's nothing you can do about it. You're just going to come out one day and one of your favorite fish are going to be dead. And it's like, you can't even figure out who killed him. His fins are all messed up. He's missing some gills, some scales on the side are missing. He got into a battle. You don't even know who killed him. That's part of the hobby in keeping this kind of fish. If you never want to see that, then you got to go with community. You got to go with angels and platies and all these. I'm not even gonna say tiger barbs because tiger barbs can be vicious.
Yes, they can. Anything with fins, they'll attack.
Right, red-tailed sharks, right? They can be vicious.
Oh yeah. Now, what's your opinion on setting up a tank for a species? Some people go natural. Some people just like to go whatever looks nice for them, and if it works, it works. What's your opinion on those?
Well, I've seen beautiful examples of both. Biotope. Get these biotopes that they have the driftwood and the weeds and the leaves floating around and the brackish water. The fish are happy. It's like being back in their lake. Rio Negro. But I look at tanks as like a canvas. And you're painting your picture. It's your picture. Keep in mind the needs of the fish. Does the fish need caves? Give him some caves. Does he like does he do well with plants? Give him some plants. Does he need at the same time, it has to be something that when you look at it, you get some pleasure. You get some joy out of it. So there's some purists out there that are going to rag you. Oh, you don't see plants. I used to have people get on me about plants. There's no plants in Lake Malawi, blah, blah. First of all, it's a lie. There are plants apparently in certain parts of Lake Malawi. But, they get all over you. But these fish, they've been tank bred for 100 generations. I don't think they have any idea what's going on in Lake Malawi. They're not homesick right now.
All they know is 4 pieces of glass holding water for them, and it's been changing from store to breeder to whatever.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a real purist, if you want to be a real purist, go release your fish. Back in the original lake. Don't release them in the local waterways. That's a no-no.
Oh man, you talking about that? You like viejas? I found out there's an area down here in Florida where you could go catch viejas. Like it's nothing.
Oh my God! Someone bought some. Someone bought them, and they were too big or too aggressive, and he threw them in the local water.
We got areas with pacus. We got areas with Oscars, snakeheads, Mayan cichlids, Midas.
Some of them don't have any predator, so they'll just take over. What about those plecos that are harassing all the manatee down in Florida on the Gulf?
Oh yeah,
the manatees are getting pushed out by these giant plecos.
Now they're asking when will you be participating in the next Aquashella?
Well, I wanted to go to 2000, but I think got canceled, right? I mean, it was in Dallas, I think, originally.
Yeah, I think it was Dallas that was doing it.
And then it got canceled because of the COVID. So I'd love to go. The last convention I went to was about 3 or 4 years ago. I went to the American Cichlid Association in Houston.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'd love to go to Aquashella. I would probably just go as a tourist.
Now they're asking, Vinny asks, how often do you test your water?
In the setup stage like I am now, I'll probably run a test, and because I'm doing frequent tests, I'll use strips, simple strips, just to give me an idea, and maybe do a test tube master kit test every couple of weeks, but use strips maybe every 3 or 4 days, just see where I'm at.
Mm-hmm.
As it gets into a stabilized situation, I'll go for months. Once I know the tanks are stable and my routine is working, I'll go for 2 or 3 months and do a test. Or if I see something weird, like the fish are acting odd, they're rubbing against they're scratching a lot, they're flashing, doing something weird, I might do a test. But once I got a routine down that works, I'm not obsessing over it too much.
Biz says his compressor steps are in a seaweed-themed sandy beach cove, and they love it. It works.
Yeah, I think that if I had that set up, I'd probably put a bikini bottom with some, some square pants stuff going on. That's just me.
A little SpongeBob, a little Patrick in the corner.
Little Patrick, yeah. Squidward.
Now, Mr. 3000 says that Blue Jack Dempsey you got is going to be a beast.
Well, he's very pretty, but I understand that because of that coloration, genetically they don't quite live quite as long, or get as big. We'll see. Fingers crossed. He's a beautiful fish. I've really gotten attached to him.
Mm-hmm.
He's over by the driftwood right now. And I've also become very attached to the strawberry that I picked up at PetSmart. These are some of the test fish I put in initially just to kind of see how the water was doing and how the fish were going to take to it. And this little strawberry is extremely interactive. And you can't really see him, but he's a beautiful little guy. He's got great markings on his body, like a lot of small spots, red and pink spots, and always on the glass, always follows me around, and just a really cute fish.
Yeah, he's a happy fish right there.
And he's got a tank mate, a redfin borley,
Mm-hmm.
and who kind of is a little bit shy, but comes out and eats, and they get along okay. But you never want to have 2 African cichlids together that are males. You want to put more in there in case one of them gets in a mood. So we kind of spreads it out a little bit. And getting back to that last question that somebody was it Fiji Biz asked about aggression. One of the common things in the African cichlid community is to spread out the aggression with an over or a heavily stocked tank. That's a very common thing that you'll hear. That comes with pros and cons. You'll have a tremendous amount of waste. You're going to have to put a lot of filtration. You're going to have to give significant water changes on a regular basis, sometimes 2-3 times a week. So, you have trade-offs. But certainly spreading out the aggression, having a stocked tank. Now, that doesn't mean that one fish isn't going to single out another fish that for some reason, pisses them off. It's like, well, wait a minute, you look a little bit too much like me. You're a competitor if it happens to be a female, and I'm going to kill you now. You don't know. That could happen. A bicolor 500 looks a lot like blue neon. Starts to go after him.
Mm-hmm. Somebody needs a golden soam and a blue Cara in Ben's tank as well.
I'm not going to argue with you.
Blue Caras are nice. I like the Caras, the blue Caras.
Acaras are very pretty.
Biz as Ben, what's your favorite? What's your feeling on flower horns? Pretty popular in the hobby.
Yeah, we talked about them a little bit ago. I think they're at first I didn't like them.
Mm-hmm.
When I first started seeing them, not big on those big, the what do they call it? Kook?
The cock.
And the big bump, I'm big on that big exaggerated brainiac thing. But some of the colors, like in the premium ones, AAA premium ones are spectacular. It's like an unreal type of color. So I think if I got things settled, if I got done what I'm trying to get done, I wouldn't mind maybe growing out one, maybe picking one up that's maybe 3 inches, 4 inches, just growing it out. And, because, like, Joey, the king of DIY, he had one. I think Evan Alexander, IFG, he has one. They seem to interact a lot with you. They follow you around. There's a lot of contact, like you get with that puffer we were talking about.
Yeah, the puppy dog.
Yeah, they have a kind of a puppy dog. I mean, you put another fish in there and he turns into a Rottweiler, but he's a puppy dog with the owner. And so yeah, I've kind of warmed up to him. Not ready to pop $100 yet, but I'm warmed up. If you want a premium one, you're going to fork out a fee.
Oh yeah, you're going to fork out some money. Vinny's asking, how do you cycle a tank? Fish in or out?
I've done it both ways. If I had the ideal, the ideal, I think, is you use a product like the Fritz 7 that I featured in a recent video.
Yes, that's
and you use media from an established tank. If you use that combination, you're gold. Just throw the fish in. You're good. Now, I went ahead and I followed the Fritz instructions. Filled the tank up. I treated the water with water conditioner. And then I followed, I treated it for 4 days with Fritz, did a little water change, and then I added fish. And, it's good. Fish are fine. So I've done it both ways. I've done it chemically and I did it the other way where I kept doing tests, but it came around. I haven't thrown a piece of shrimp in and let something go rotten and produce added ammonia. I haven't done that. And you can buy, like Fritz sells ammonia, right? You can buy ammonia, you can add it. I haven't done that.
Now, Mr. 3000 asks, as a creator, do you feel moving was the best thing for your channel's contents-wise, or do you prefer your old setup better?
Hey, I love that old setup. I miss it too. But it was spread out all over the house. When this finally gets set up, it's going to be really nice because it's all going to be in one place. I'll be able just to turn the camera and we'll be able to look at the discus tank. Turn the camera, we can look at the big monster cichlid tank. Turn the camera, look at the platted, the platted tank. It's going to be so easy. Plus, I've got a sink. I've got a sink right here. It's my sink. My wife isn't waiting to do dishes. So if I leave a bucket in it, right, it doesn't matter. Also, my equipment. I can leave my equipment up. Before I was filming like in the living room, where I'd film in the bedroom. And hey, it was an hour and a half of setup and breakdown. Everything had to be gone when I was done because it's a living space, shared living space. Now I can leave my stuff up and it's so much easier.
Now, are you going to put tanks inside?
At some point, possibly. I had a video that I released called It's Gone, and I showed the space where the 150 was. I ruined that floor.
Oh, yes. It cost us some money to get it fixed.
That was $800 just to match it up. Probably thousands to really do it right? When you pull all the wood up. So, So I don't know. We got real nice wood floors inside, carpet on the second floor. So I don't know. I don't know. I'll tell you another thing I love. I love being able to spill a bunch of water and not even care. The only care I would have is that it might get over to an electrical cord. You know?
Well, if I slip and fall and hurt myself, but other than that, it can stay right there.
Yeah. Whereas in the other place, it's like, man, oh no, a little drop, gotta dry it up real quick, and you know, it's. I was in a state of anxiety, but that doesn't exist anymore. I have a floor that I got professionally epoxied, and I don't worry about it. So that's a big plus.
We got one more question from Paul. What's the best way of you treating a peacock that has been beaten up?
Put him in his own tank for a while. And I put a video out on Instant Hospital Tank. You can grab 3 or 4 cups of substrate from the tank, put it into a small container, put half tank water and half tap water, temperature matched with a little bit of conditioner. You have an instant tank. You can buy little hang-on back filters. You can throw a little sponge filter in there, put the fish in there, and let him recover. Give him a water change every few days. So he has fresh water. He'll heal on his own, and the fresh water will heal him. You don't need to put any meds. If you see an infection starting to form, you can always throw a little bit of General Cure or Metro in there, something like that. You can always medicate if you have to. But just the fresh water, let him heal up, get some strength. You know, start eating. If he's eating, going after his food again, and he's all healed up, put him back in. But you know, maybe change all the decor around and put him in a dark tank with the lights out. So that when the lights come on later, just look around, it's like he's always been there, right?
Mm-hmm. Surprise.
Still, watch them. I've had fish. I've taken a fish out of a tank for a month and put them back in, and they pick up right where they left off. They don't miss a beat. That's when you have to rehome the fish.
Oh yes. Now, Biz, what's your take on Melifex, Prime Fix versus good old fashioned salt and high temp?
Salt and high temp. I've had no luck at all with Melifex, and you must be thinking Pima Fix. No luck at all with those products. As a matter of fact, the products showed pictures on them on the product as to what it was for, and those pictures look like the beginning of Colomaris. And if you start throwing Pima or Mela or both, like it recommends you can do, and Colomaris is not going to be affected one bit by those products. So what it did is it let the Colomaris really take hold before I realized these products are not doing anything. And it wasn't until I got a hold of the Fritz antibiotic. They used to have Fritz used to have a pretty strong antibiotic. I don't even know if you can get it anymore. But that stopped it. That stopped it cold and kept my fish loss at 50%. I've talked to people who Colomaris has wiped out 100%. So I felt very fortunate. But the Pima and the Mela Fix, I became very, very disenchanted. I ended up with a stinky tank. I had to put a lot of water changes and activated charcoal to get all the smell out. And I'm not a fan. Sorry.
Now, yes, what about corals and saltwater? Been in, or out?
I love corals. And if I want to see some nice corals, I'll go on YouTube or I'll check out my the inventory king, all the inventory king. He's gotten really heavy on corals. I love corals. And if I got into corals, I'd probably go bankrupt. So you don't want to open up that box.
That's a very expensive part of the hobby. But there's so many beautiful corals out there. Oh yeah, it's amazing.
Soft coral, I mean, Paul, go to the Inventory King on YouTube. The guy's gone. He's lost his mind in a good way. He's got the most beautiful. He buys the small frags, and then he grows them out, and then he places them in the main tank, and so I'm enjoying it without the cost.
Now, if you could have a tank right now inside your house, what would you get?
Probably discus.
Discus.
Nice big discus tank. That's something that's calm.
Mm-hmm. Would you ever get goldfish?
Huh?
Would you ever do goldfish?
I like goldfish, but I like koi. I like the way the koi look. The platinum, the tricolor, the 3-color kois. I love those fish. I'm not real big on the super fancies. Some of them don't even make sense to me. But just the beautiful colors in the koi, the whites, the blacks, the yellows. I like those, but then I'd have to get into a pond eventually. But when I had the 150 in the bedroom, my wife sometimes would comment about, this isn't our bedroom. There's always battles, and late at night we hear splashes and chasing. It was like having the MMA right
there. While you sleeping, they're going crazy, huh?
It was crazy to pick her up sometimes because like some fish is chasing another fish, and you hear a big splash. And these fish, I had some fish in there that were between 7 and 11 inches. You get big splashes. So some beautiful discus. They'll just drift around, and maybe some other little fish that schools. Maybe cardinals in there, neons, something like that.
Well, man, we went way over. I don't like to do the live stream longer than an hour because I appreciate everybody's time. But Ben, again, it's been a pleasure having you on the stream today with us, and hopefully we can have you again, especially when you finish the fish room. I want to have you again and see the final product. Even though I'm going to be following you, and everybody definitely follow the channel. You're on Instagram too, aren't you?
Instagram at ben.o.cichlid. And the name still applies because they're still cichlids. And Ben O apostrophe Cichlid is the Facebook group. And the YouTube channel is just my name, Ben Ochart. And definitely. I'll be more than happy to come back. And after I get it all set up, you're welcome to come up to Nashville, take a tour of it. And my pleasure.
It's been our pleasure and everything. Thank you again, everybody, for joining us tonight. And everybody that's catching the replay. Everybody have a blessed night.